Here are the 6 considerations that you should be thinking about whenever you're purchasing a new handgun. My name is Joe Malone. I'm a retired MARSOC Marine and the CEO founder over here at JM Training and the Lethality University. And this is just what I've come to the conclusion of whenever considering a new weapon system, or whenever I'm guiding students and clients into purchasing their first or maybe another type of a handgun. These are the things that you want to be thinking about. All right, guys. So a lot of people are always asking me, how do I know what gun is right for me? What do I want to take into consideration? And here I have written down 6 considerations for choosing the perfect handgun for yourself. And so here are these 6 considerations. Consideration number 1 is the beaver tail and your ability to get the meaty portion of that J hook high and tight up underneath that beaver tail so that there's no gap here. If you can do so comfortably, that's the first consideration. 2 is going to be your finger to trigger length. So as you see my finger here, I could easily reach down and get some good grip on that trigger, specifically right up until about the bend of that first segment of the index finger. So you want to be, while high up in that beaver tail, capable of getting at least that portion of your index finger, that first indent down there on the trigger. That's going to give you good ability to pull back on that trigger. Now, next is going to be your thumb to the slide catch. Can you manipulate that slide catch with your thumb without having to completely shift your grip off that gun? Now, of course, this isn't like a requirement, but it will be much more helpful if you can get your thumb to that slide catch. Next is going to be your thumb to the magazine release. Can you successfully drop the magazine without having to completely shift your grip? So now I'm manipulating the slide catch and I'm manipulating that magazine without adjusting my grip very much. Lastly, how difficult is it for you to rack and lock the slide? Really rack the slide, but also to lock the slide, which you should be able to do with your thumb right there. What we're talking about is, do you possess the physical strength to push and pull that buffer spring to manipulate that weapon system? If the answer is no, because it's a super heavy duty spring or just an awkward style of a handgun, or maybe it's too small of a handgun, then you obviously don't want to be messing with that gun. You don't want to purchase that gun. But if you can rack and lock that slide to the rear with very good ease, or a little bit of work, something that you can get better at, then that is your 5th consideration. Then lastly, can you shoot with this weapon? Now, shooting brings with it a whole group of other considerations, about 8 sub-considerations when it comes to your stance, your grip, your upper body, your sight alignment, your sight picture, your trigger control, your breathing, your follow through. All those things are going to matter when it comes to shooting the gun. But generally speaking, can you shoot the gun well? It's not too much recoil for you. And then of course, we do want to take other things into consideration, like caliber. What's the ammunition type that you are using? Is it going to provide enough stopping power for what you're trying to use it for? Is it too much for you to handle for multiple engagements on a singular target and multiple engagements across multiple targets in a accurate and rapid succession? And then of course, what is the round count that you're capable of carrying with that caliber weapon system? Most 45 calibers, you're going to get a maximum of, with a standard magazine, a maximum of 10 rounds. That's in a Springfield double stack magazine, but most 45s are going to be 7 rounds, 5 rounds, because they're single stack magazines for the most part. And so how many rounds are you going to have with you? Those are going to be 2 other external considerations. Really, the first 6 are your, like, hey, is this good for my hand type, right? The other considerations are more operational. So talking about stopping power, ability to engage multiple engagements, multiple targets quickly, basically recoil management. And then lastly, how many rounds do you get to carry with you? Those are going to be 3 external considerations. But for you, for your hand, is this a good gun for you? First question is, can you get high and tight up underneath that beaver tail? What's the length of your trigger finger to the trigger? Does your thumb have the ability to manipulate that slide catch? Does your thumb have the ability to manipulate that magazine release? And then how difficult is it for you to push and pull that slide to the rear? And then lastly, how well can you shoot the weapon system? Again, those other 3 bonus considerations are, what's the stopping power, the caliber of that bullet? What is the recoil management capability for you as an individual? And then lastly, how many rounds do you get to carry with you for your personal safety and self-defense of others? So hopefully that helps you guys understand what to think of when looking for a handgun. Lots of other things that we could dive down into. Let me know if you have any questions on that, but generally speaking, I think that's a pretty good metric, series of metrics for determining whether or not you have a good handgun or not. So hit me up, let me know your thoughts.